I'd like to, at this time, introduce David Jacobs. David Jacobs is the chairman of the board of Chafetz Chaim. And we have a small board, but the board is very active in helping Esther and I accomplish the goals that are needed to be able to continue reaching out to Jews of ages, all ages and backgrounds. In fact, it was the board who felt that it was very important to have this celebration. So, to the members of the current board, I say thank you, and all of us say thank you because we're having such a delicious meal. David has always been there for us. David is a good friend, and he's also an outstanding lawyer. And he has helped us in so many ways in making sure that we're doing everything right and that we're staying on track. And David, especially in all the areas of managing our making sure that we're doing everything right, David took a leadership position also in the establishment of the Eruv, the Tucson Eruv project. Without David's help, it could not have happened. So I'd like to ask David to please come forward and share a few words of welcome.
So thank you again for being here. Tonight we are celebrating a wondrous event that took place on the other side of the world more than 2,000 years ago, but we are also honoring a great event that took place in our community 40 years ago. After driving across the country from New York, Rabbi and Esther Becker started a synagogue from their new home, not so far from here, which, by the way, makes Rabbi Becker the longest-serving rabbi in the history of Tucson. So Rabbi and Esther had a vision to go out of New York and make an impact. Mission accomplished. May we all see our visions realized so fully. As chairman, I see firsthand Rabbi and Esther's relentless effort, energy, enthusiasm, and ambition to provide as much as possible to the community with the time and resources they have available. One of the most visible and recent examples is the completion of the Tucson Eruv, which Rabbi just mentioned, just completed this spring. Over 40 years, think of all the thousands of men, women, and children who Rabbi and Esther have worshiped with, taught, mentored, some for a lifetime, some maybe just for a day. But so many remember and cherish Rabbi and Esther's warmth and their wisdom and their attention to each individual's personal situation. I personally want to thank them for providing my family with a friendship and experience with Judaism that I certainly did not anticipate. There will be a number of people this evening who may share their first experiences meeting Rabbi and Esther, because these memories are so telling of the type of accessibility and opportunities that Rabbi and Esther provide. For us, my son Harrison, who we always say is an excellent judge of people, even at 12 years old, chose to study for his bar mitzvah with Rabbi Becker after attending a few Sunday morning classes here with a few friends. I also wanted to share some words from my predecessor, Larry Kalisher, who sent a note, who couldn't be here tonight, but asked that we share his memories. This is from Ruth and Larry Kalisher. To the wonderful folks at Chafetz Chaim, 40 years, it's unbelievable. I remember when I wandered in one day, probably at Shabbos in about 1993, and spoke to a young lady. I was shy about coming in, not being Shomer Shabbos by Orthodox standards, but she said something like, "Don't worry about it," and I didn't leave for 18 years. At Chofetz, I was comfortable. It was like my hometown shul in Toledo. The davening was my style, and I learned to do it with a bit of proficiency as time went by. The rabbi's sermons were always to my benefit, and I've listened to them each week on my computer ever since we moved back to California. Under the rabbi's tutelage, I learned to bless and bench, and his 5-minute-a-day reading something Jewish program got me into Mishnah, so that now I have a shelf full of tractates. I was proud to be president of the board for a few years, probably because Rabbi Becker did all the hard work and I had a pretty easy time of it. That is true. As one might observe, I miss the rabbi, Rebbitzin, and all the members very much. I like living in Tucson, and the shul made it home. Many of you know my wife, Ruth. She was involved with the gift shop and with the Becker family for most of our time in Tucson. There came a time, however, when her Parkinson's caused her to need to be close to our girls, so here we are back in Southern California. Ruth is stable but not great. I'm sure if she were in a little better shape, she would also have something great to say about Chofetz, but I will just pass along her best regards to everyone. We send you our very best wishes for a long continuation of bringing wonderful Judaism to Tucson. Ruth and Larry Kerlischer. So we may also have some other out-of-town messages later. I think that's on the program. For now, I want to thank you all for being here. We're very happy to have you with us. This is a great event. The 50th is 10 years, so mark it down on your calendars. But thank you again. I'm going to ask Rabbi to continue to lead the festivities. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Jeff Katz, past president, and Jeff and Karen have indeed been so close to us over the years, and we have been blessed by their involvement in Chofetz Chaim, and we look forward to 40 years and beyond. Thank you, Jeff.
This will be difficult and easy. Rabbi married my children, bar mitzvahed my boys, but Torah my daughters. So I don't think I'll get too teary-eyed, but it's a long, long friendship. One thing I wrote down just as we were sitting here is that it's an auspicious time to be celebrating the 40th anniversary of our synagogue. Every day we read of another anti-Semitic event. Individuals and governments and even entire governments are promoting these actions. I'm proud to stand here and be amongst friends who are standing up and supporting and reaffirming our commitment to an institution which is promoting and spreading Jewish values. I'm honored to say a few words on this 40th anniversary of Chofetz Chaim and the Rabbi and Esther's coming to Tucson. 40 years, a long time, but it seems just like yesterday that we started on this journey. I guess it dates us all. Rabbi, I remember when you had no gray hair. Neither did I. I'll keep my comments short. This evening is not about me, but about Rabbi, Esther, Chofetz Chaim, and most importantly, all of you. What is it about this place, Chofetz Chaim, that is so magnetic that we keep coming back here for constant Jewish rejuvenation? Is it the sermons? And I'm sure you've heard Rabbi, he is the best pulpit rabbi I've ever heard. The courses, the questions about halacha. Is it the teaching of Torah and Talmud? And think about what I might say. I ask myself, what is the essence of Chofetz Chaim? Why are we all here tonight? I believe that although we all come from different backgrounds, we have different Jewish and family needs, we are all on a common course, a similar journey that we all have embarked on. Chofetz Chaim has made this journey possible and successful. It's allowed each and every one of us to find fulfillment in our personal lives. My wife and I met a very young, and energetic and outgoing rabbi in Rebbetzin in the late 70s. I come from a relatively non-observant background, so I was somewhat reluctant at first to establish a deep relationship with Chofetz Chaim. However, my wife coaxed me on. We had 4 children. We had a lot of reasons to look for more in our lives, and we committed ourselves to this journey. Baby steps at first, studying late at night with Rabbi, often past midnight, sometimes with breakfast prepared by Esther. Often interrupted with phone calls during these sessions, calls from all over the country concerning halacha and other Jewish issues. We all know that the rabbi's phone rings occasionally. He is definitely a hands-on rabbi, and aren't we fortunate that he is? When a problem presents itself to us, is there anyone in this room who would hesitate talking to Rabbi or Esther? I learned slowly, but made steady progress, and I really, truly enjoyed myself. Other young families were involved as well, and I remember fondly the holidays shared, staying at nearby hotels on Yontif, the Shabbatones at the YMCA camp, group discussions at various congregants' homes, the multitude of fundraisers, and 1,000 other memorable experiences. experiences. It was truly a Chofetz Chaim family happening time and time again. There was never pressure to become totally observant, but to just keep moving closer to the joys of Jewish life and Jewish values. I personally went from learning how to read Hebrew to reading Haftorahs, and then finally to reading the Torah on Yom Kippur. Baby steps at first, and slowly the teachings of Rabbi fit together like with a puzzle. I remember Rabbi explaining that our lighting candles on Friday night was comparable to Moses leading the Jews across the desert. The act of lighting candles and celebrating Shabbos was that momentous for someone who had not done so growing up. What a phenomenal statement to make to encourage somebody's practicing their Judaism. We have all been on this path, different backgrounds, different needs, but all heading in the same direction with the same ultimate goal. The message is always to bring Jewishness into our lives and thereby make our lives so much more meaningful. These are Torah messages, and who could be better messengers than Rabbi and Esther? This is the very essence of Chofetz Chaim, the thing I was thinking so much about. What is it that we all have in common? Why do we keep coming to Chofetz, supporting Chofetz on different levels, bringing the joys and beauty of Torah and Jewish learning into our lives? Our Chofetz Chaim family has come a long way. We first met at Rabbi and Esther's house, then the barber shop, then the house on 5th Street, and finally here. What a glorious and proud day when we paraded down 5th Street, holding our Torahs, and finally placing them in our new home. This has all occurred because of you, members and supporters. You all made it happen. A member giving one Yom Kippur appeal looked up at the ceiling and described it as looking like an ark. Indeed, it is a vessel carrying all of us on this journey to a more complete Jewish life. We have all gained so much and in so many ways in taking this journey. We are now, with this fundraiser, so much closer to ensuring the Chofetz Chaim will be able to continue this journey for us, our families, and all of Tucson for years to come. So thank you, Rabbi and Esther, for leading us the way you have and completely devoting yourselves to bringing Torah and Jewish life to us. And for Karen and myself, thank you for being the close friends that you've been. Above all, congratulations to all of you and those who are no longer with us, who have made this journey possible and have allowed Chofetz Chaim, this shining star of Torah, to be an immense light on Tucson. Thank you.
Our community, Tucson, is blessed. It's blessed with leadership, and it has been blessed with Stuart Mellon. Stuart is actually a leader par excellence, and the reason is it's not just because he was there for me. I know that, but Stu is there for everyone, for every synagogue, for every rabbi. It takes a special person, a person with an open heart. I once put one year we put an ad in honoring Stu, and went something like a person who knows no boundaries, where boundaries don't exist. And there's so many times during these past years, since Stu has been in Tucson, that Esther and I have called upon him, and his advice was always on fair, clear, encouraging, and on the mark. So now that it is clear that he's on the mark, I wish that Stu would stay on for another 40 years, but apparently, if you read in the Arizona Post, his term is ending, but I'm sure his support for the community will not be ending. And Stu, I hope you're going to be there forever to give Esther and I advice. Thank you, Stu.
Thank you. It's a little overwhelming to hear your generous words. So, why Tucson was the question that I posed at the 25th anniversary. I wondered that at that time if there was some divine revelation that Moshe Rabbeinu led them to wander through the desert to find the promised land. And I had said at the 25-year mark that I hoped their journey would last more than 40 years. And here we are, 40 years. What a remarkable, remarkable achievement. Today, I feel confident that that sacred journey is going very strong. And so, as to the why Tucson question, anyone who has ever sat in on one of Rabbi's or Esther's classes might feel that their decision was, in fact, divinely inspired. The light that shines out of these beautiful souls and pours into our community feels very much like the light of Hashem. It is that rare blend of passion and faith, wisdom and wit, and the unending willingness to give to others with kindness and compassion that has inspired thousands of us through these years. And we have witnessed, as you so generously shared with me, what I believe are truly the limitless boundaries, the remarkable outpouring, the always willing to be there for all of us, as has been echoed here tonight. And it certainly doesn't stop at the gates of Chafetz Chaim. It is for our community, and they have been for our community. Beyond teaching, beyond the unyielding commitment to a vision for our community, beyond the personal caring for those in need of spiritual sustenance, is the remarkable devotion that Rabbi and Esther show each other and have shown to their family that we have been blessed to witness. Tonight, on this 8th night of Hanukkah, as we participate in bringing light to overcome the darkness, it is so appropriate that we celebrate our good fortune that the divine light that we witness in the Beckers emanates outward into each of us to help create this remarkable community at Chafetz Chaim. Mazel Tov and Hanukkah Sameach to all. Thank you.
Jeff is a trusted friend, someone who, when we're in town, we're out of town, we can turn to Jeff and he'll be there for us. Anything that we need, he's there to help us out. He helps us in so many different ways, aside from the shul, but on a community level, helping me with Nadine's Bakery, which, thank God, is also almost hitting 40 years of kosher supervision for many years to come, God willing. Helping me with the Eruv and so many other areas. And when Esther and I are out of town, checking our mail, taking the packages, checking the house. May Hashem bless Jeff and Nancy with only nachas and the beautiful things now and always. It is a privilege for me to have Jeff in such an important leadership role in the shul and such a dear friend to Esther and I.
Thank you, Rabbi Becker, for the great introduction. I thought you were going to go, Gav, meaning back, meaning Murray trained me to stand with him in the back and control traffic, especially during the sermon. I didn't realize the added. Thank you for your kind words. Can you imagine the courage it takes for a young, observant family in their late 20s to move to Tucson, Arizona, planning to grow and educate their children in 1979? Not only courage, but dogged determination based on the conviction that they could do so successfully, to leave the support network of New York and leave the support network serving young families in Jerusalem, where they studied to obtain semicha and head for Tucson, Arizona. Rabbi got the semicha, but Esther, you were an integral part of the studies. They did it with their courage and conviction. I arrived in Tucson August 1984. I attended the shul in the private home located a half a mile east of here. It was hot in August. It was cramped. There were folding chairs, but there were plans to move to a dedicated, bigger building just down the street. I distinctly remember people approaching me, worried that the move to a dedicated building was too ambitious at that time, too expensive, not viable in Tucson. The Beckers raised the funds and eventually paid off the mortgage. The Beckers' courage and conviction won out. Needless to say, the Beckers were instrumental in our life cycle events, the brisses, the preschool education, bar mitzvahs. You would expect that of a rabbi. But I recall Rabbi Becker emerging from the kitchen at the Hilton during cocktail hour at our bar mitzvah in 2001. I'm not sure, were we supposed to have a mashgiach, or were you supposed to be the mashgiach? Anyway, he was drenched like Sean Miller in the second half of a Pac-12 tourney game. Sean Miller is a basketball coach for the University of Arizona, and he schwitzes a lot, especially when he wears a jacket. And to this day, I don't know the full story of how Rabbi Becker had to accompany the butcher to somehow pick up the meat for that meal that was diverted to the cargo area of Tucson International Airport. But I do know, because of the rabbi's dogged determination and conviction to make the event kosher and successful, the bar mitzvah meal seemed to go off without a hitch. The idea of having our own mikveh, crazy expensive, too ambitious, can't raise the funds, not viable in Tucson. But the Beckers raised the funds, planned and completed the project. The Beckers' courage and conviction won out. An Eruv in our city, a large Eruv that's expandable, even larger. Way too expensive. It's already been tried and failed for years. We can't raise the funds. Not viable in Tucson. But the Beckers raised the funds and completed the project. The Beckers' courage and conviction won out. The Beckers have been in Tucson for 40 years, as we know. Nancy and I have known them and are proud to call them our friends for the 35 years that we've known them. We still can't tell which of them pushes the other, who has the greater energy. Does anybody know? I know what time I can't call after for each of my relatives and friends, except for one, the Beckers. What time don't you call them after? I'll send a text message at a crazy late or a crazy early hour, hoping Rabbi Becker has his notifications alert muted for the night. I'm horrified to not only get a response, but one well thought out and perfectly responsive. This is just part of the endless energy that feeds into the dogged determination that characterizes the courage and conviction that define Esther and Rabbi Becker. Mazel tov to you, mazel tov to us.
I mentioned to Cheryl Toff, who wrote, if you read the article in the Post, it was Cheryl's beautiful, beautiful writing. And Cheryl has been helping our writing for so many years in so many different ways. So I mentioned to Cheryl, none of my children could be here for this particular time of year. And so Cheryl said, fine, why don't they do a video? So fine, I thought it's worth a shot. And we sent an email, had Cheryl do me a favor. Cheryl, put out an email, create an email so I could send it to my children and tell them about this. So Cheryl did that, and the children got in touch with John at Visual Images, and they have something to say. And they have greetings for Esther and I and for all of us. And we will be hearing from our children. And some of them called us and they said, Abba, we want you to see it first, just in case. I said, I don't want to see it. I want to see it when everybody sees it. And here we are.
Growing up in Tucson, I think of the pasuk, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, the verse that says you should love your neighbor as yourself. Throughout my childhood, my parents always taught us to connect to people that were different than us, that might have come from a different place and from a totally different background. They were always able to connect to the Jewish neshama, however connected it was to Judaism or not. They always were able to see the spark and the good in people. That aspect has changed my life. My parents not only taught us that pasuk, v'yahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself, but they also lived it. That aspect has changed the way I interact with people, my respect for people, my job, my ability to accept all kinds of different people and their backgrounds. And it has also affected the way I raise my children and the way my children will raise their children. Mazel tov on this momentous occasion, and thank you for all you have given me.
Happy Chanukah and Mazel tov on 40 years of Torah growth in Tucson, and a very special Mazel tov to my wonderful parents. Growing up in Tucson, I had many wonderful special experiences. Those experiences included doing kashrus in the local bakery in Tucson with my father, being able to teach in the Talmud Torah on Sunday mornings and in the afternoons, as well as checking the mikveh waters with my mother, and being able to kasher people's homes with our entire family. One special memory that I have in growing up in Tucson was being able to work on my father's speeches with him for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Shabbos mornings. These were very, very special times for me. These experiences, as well as my parents' love for Torah, have influenced my decision to move out of town and spread Torah with my family. I recall the first time we had an opportunity to move out of town was to Rochester, New York. I recall the family was trying to convince us to move to Rochester. And they were trying to talk to us about the wonderful opportunities of Rochester, New York, as well as some of the conveniences that we may be missing by moving away from New York, and trying to convince us that it wasn't so bad in Rochester. One of those conveniences had to do with the availability of kosher food. They were talking to us about the Wegmans supermarket and where we can get kosher food and how much kosher food we could get there. I stopped the wife at that point and said to her, "You do not need to worry. I grew up in Tucson, Arizona, and whatever food you have in Rochester and Wegmans is much more food than I was able to get in Tucson, Arizona growing up." That was the beginning of my family's journey to spread Torah, and a love for Torah that has continued for many, many, many years, which due to my parents and my wonderful experiences, I have spread to my children as they grow up and make choices of their own. Mazel tov on this wonderful, wonderful occasion, and mazel tov to my wonderful parents.
Growing up in Tucson, we were often very much alone among our peers in our Torah and mitzvah observance. Not eating in the same restaurants as our friends, not spending our Saturdays the same as our friends. One might think that this could lead to a feeling of missing out, but just the opposite was true. My parents, through their example and their passionate dedication to their Judaism, showed us that there could be nothing better. The joy and fulfillment that was evident in our home, that comes through connecting to Hashem spiritually through Torah and mitzvahs, far outweighs whatever one might be giving up. A runner or a mountain climber, though he's putting in a lot of effort and exertion, he doesn't feel burdened by those exertions. Rather, he feels exhilarated by them because he knows he is accomplishing something meaningful to him. How much more so when the accomplishments are spiritual, eternal, and everlasting. My parents also showed us, through their tremendous love and dedication, commitment to the Tucson Jewish community, that perhaps the greatest feeling of fulfillment comes from sharing the joy and beauty of Torah and mitzvos with our Jewish brothers and sisters. I'd like to wish Mazel Tov to the Southwest Torah Institute, to Congregation Chavetz Chaim, and all our wonderful friends in the Tucson Jewish community on this special milestone. Of course, I'd also like to wish Mazel Tov to my dear parents, my teachers, my mentors, on 40 years of selfless love, dedication, and commitment to the Tucson Jewish community. May Hashem continue to grant you health, happiness, simcha, nachas, and the strength to continue the incredible work that you do. Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov, Abba and Ima, Rabbi and Mrs. Becker, on this wonderful, wonderful occasion, looking back at 40 years of the growth that you have inspired the people in Tucson, Arizona. Of course, it's a celebration for the people in Tucson, Arizona, but it's also a celebration for me as a child, looking back at the 40 years that I was able to grow up in a house that day in and day out you toiled for each and every individual in the Jewish nation. I had thought growing up, looking at you, my parents, Abba and Ima, I had thought that I myself would one day go out to a place similar to Tucson, Arizona, and open up a shul and build a community as the community in Tucson is. However, the way my road had taken me is that I am a teacher in a classroom, giving to 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade children, giving to each and every individual, each and every one, and each and every person in the Jewish nation in a different way. But only because of your inspiration am I able to give to each and every child in a different way. And only because I grew up in Tucson, Arizona, do I feel that I was trained and allowed myself to be able to do the job that I can do, as well as I'm able to do because of the inspiration that I got from you, Abba and Ima, when I was growing up in Tucson, Arizona. Mazel tov, mazel tov. May you continue for many, many, many years to come, inspire the people of Tucson, Arizona, and continue to inspire people who can inspire other people. Mazel tov, mazel tov.
As I've grown older and progressed in life, the inevitable mark of growing up in my parents' home has become clearer and clearer. Specifically, the mark of an idea that the singular most important thing in life is spiritual growth. Whether it be keeping God's commandments, studying His Torah, or treating every Jew with the belief that he was created in God's image. Spiritual growth is the only thing of value. All other achievements, whether it be physical, material, or anything else, are only measured by how will they help me in my spiritual growth. Over the years, as I've dedicated myself to delving into God's Torah, the belief and passion that spirituality is the only thing of value fueled my energy and focus to study harder and deeper and to become who I am today. Thank you, Abba and Ima, for the eternal legacy that you have bequeathed me. Mazel tov. Mazel tov to you and the entire Jewish community of Tucson.
Hi everyone, thank you for taking this video. I really appreciate it. I first want to say thank you to the entire Tucson community for being there for me and my entire family. Growing up in Tucson was an amazing, amazing experience. Even from the youngest age as a child, I remember getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning during the winter, pretty cold outside, scraping the ice off of the windshield, my father in his coat, and even taking some warm water to make it go faster so we're on time for shul. Driving up to the shul, making sure it's open. From the old Gabbai, Mari Levine, he was there, opened the shul for us, and my parents were there. 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., even 1 a.m. that night, coming back from teaching a class, shopping, running a shul event, tons and tons of programming, and even from a young child, setting up the shul, running a Chanukah party, running a Purim party, Yom Noraim, flipping the pages. Even by the high holidays, I remember as a young child sitting there as my father would get ready for Kol Nidre in his white kittel, and the entire congregation standing there with awe and reverence for the moment as my father began Kol Nidre. From a young age, I saw the power and the strength that it took to be a leader, and the unbelievable inner sense of responsibility for each and every Jew, whether they're in Tucson, whether they're in New York, whether they're in Canada. It didn't make a difference where anybody was from, whether they were on vacation for the Gem Show. It didn't make a difference whether somebody was from Eretz Yisrael. Every single Jew had a special place in my parents' heart, and the responsibility to take care of that Jew was unwavering. With that in mind, becoming a teacher and becoming a rabbi was very easy for me. I knew that in order to become a part of this chain, in order to set myself in a place of commitment to Torah and mitzvos and to help Klal Yisrael, to help the Jewish nation, I had to emulate my parents. In Tucson, every single day was another one of those moments. Every day was an opportunity to become closer to Hashem. Every day in Tucson was another person, another family, another child, another adult, another middle-aged person, another older person. Every single person was a Jew that needed help, and my parents were there for them. Tucson, you provided me that insight of what it means to be a Torah Jew, someone dedicated to Klal Yisrael, someone dedicated to the Jewish nation.
Mazel tov to Ima and Abba, my parents, on reaching this milestone of 40 years of bringing Torah and Judaism to the people of Tucson. It's a simcha for my parents, and it's also a simcha for the people, it's a joyous occasion for the people of Tucson as well. 40 years of growth in Torah and Judaism. As I embark on my career as a rabbi, I cannot help but reflect on some of the things that I saw growing up in my house at home. My parents' constant love for every single Jew, their desire to reach out and teach and expose every Jew to the glory of Torah, Judaism, and all of its richness, and everything that it has to offer, in every way that it helps make a person's life more fulfilled. There's no doubt that having such role models has left an indelible imprint on me and changes the way that I interact with my own students until this day. Mazel tov again. It is our greatest prayer that God should continue to bless my parents with the strength to continue to bring people closer to God, to expose people to the beauty of Judaism for many more years to come. Mazel tov.
With vigor and enthusiasm, my father woke me up at 5 o'clock in the morning to learn with him at his orange table. With creativity and innovation, my father taught himself to play guitar, wrote songs, and sang relatable tunes. With energy and drive, my mother envisioned a 5-star spa experience at a mikvah and actualized it with hours of work with contractors and top interior designers. My parents came to Tucson 40 years ago with mission, drive, energy, and focus to share the light of Torah. The community and my family are a beautiful testimony to their unwavering dedication over the past 40 years. Mazel tov, Abba and Ima, and wishing you happy, healthy, beautiful years to continue sharing and spreading the light of Torah.
I recently had the privilege of my parents to come and visit me and my baby Rashki in New York. One night while we were there, I asked my father to help put my baby to sleep and to say the bedtime prayer Shema with Rashki. When my father did this, he sang to her a song that he used to sing with us called Learn Torah, My Dear, and it's about how money comes and goes, but Torah always stays, and Torah is worth more than money. Through my parents' life in Tucson, Arizona, and growing up in Tucson, Arizona, I really understood how my parents emulated this idea and how Torah is continuity, and the continuity of Torah is forever. I've watched people's lives change. I've watched now people who have homes and children who are on the way of Torah, and I just see that Torah is continuity. It's worth more than money. It always stays. And this was an idea I got from Tucson and why I chose to dedicate my entire life and to have a husband who sits and learns Torah and will become a rabbi, because Torah is forever.
Lo b'chayil v'lo b'koach. Ki im beruchi Omar Hashem Tzivokos. Not through armies, not through might, but through my spirit. Those stirring words were read in the Haftorah yesterday, Haftorah for Shabbos of Chanukah. Those words, not through armies, not through might, but through my spirit. That's the essence of Chanukah, and it's the essence of the lives of the survival of the Jewish people, and it's the essence of all of our lives, yours and mine. And it's certainly true for 40 years of Torah growth together by the Spirit of Hashem. I remember going to a potential donor, a philanthropist and prominent in Tucson. I was advised to go see him. And I was sitting across his desk. And he says to me, Rabbi, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. It's just, this is Tucson Orthodox Synagogue. I just don't see it. Now, I don't know. There were many times that I actually couldn't see it. But God saw it. And God made sure that it would happen. In Pirkei Avos, in Ethics of the Fathers, we learn that if you're involved in community teaching, community activity, don't take credit. Because Zechus Avosan Misayotam, it's the merit of the community that is there for them. And I always felt this, and Esther, I always felt this, that look, Tucson is a very, very, how many Jews are there in Tucson? How many Jews are there in Tucson? So yeah, 25,000, well, it used to be the numbers 30,000, 25,000. There were many Jews that we were connected with, and many Jews that sadly we wanted to, but just couldn't connect with. What was it? What was it? Okay. Oh, maybe Esther's charm. Maybe the way the rabbi speaks. Or maybe the parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. The merit is there and stood by there. Without even knowing it, their descendants were drawn in their merit to grow in Torah learning. Some explain, don't take credit for yourself, because the chusavosam, the sayotan, the merit of their fathers, their merit of their parents helped them. Don't take credit. Esther and I, we're both blessed. We're both blessed. Our parents, my in-laws of blessed memory, community leaders par excellence, selfless. My parents survived the Holocaust and fought to raise us Jewishly. We have merit. My great teacher, who inspired me, and many teachers, their merit. So I don't know. I guess we try, Esther and I continue to try. But it's your merit, the merit of your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, somewhere along the line, and my parents and grandparents and Esther's parents that make us match together, that make us grow together, and make this beautiful 40 years of Torah growth happen. And God willing, may it continue to happen together. In the Hebrew word for gratitude is hakora satov. Hakora. Hakora means recognition. It's a big picture. So there's so much to say thank you for. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your friendship. And especially to each and every one of you that have come here tonight to be here and just to give us strength and encouragement. I want to express, on behalf of Esther and I, appreciation to past presidents, to past board members, to the people who have come to the daily minyan, to the people who open and close the synagogue, to the people who come to our classes, to the people who come to the daily minyan, to the services. King Solomon was very smart. King Solomon says this, Mikol malamdai yiskalti, I learned from all my teachers. Umi talmidai yoser mikulam, but from my students, I learned more. Meaning, King Solomon is teaching us that to grow, you need students. So sure, Esther and I came, young family, we came to Tucson. Yeah, we came to Tucson to give. But I don't know. We got so much back, so much back. And thank you all. I wanted to also express appreciation to my children. I'd like to read you an email that I got from the Rosh Yeshiva, from the head of WITS, Wisconsin Institute of Torah Study in Milwaukee, where Mendel studied. I've probably interviewed more than 1,000 eighth graders for admission to WITS. One of the most memorable interviews was Mendel's. I realized he had very little formal classroom Jewish education, and he had no friends who were religious like he was. I was very concerned with taking in such a boy. Maybe I'm adding some words. Maybe he's not balanced. I was concerned about his background, and more so, any negative feelings about being brought up in a place with such difficult circumstances. I gingerly broached the subject with him. I will never forget his answer. Quoting Mendel, "We went to Tucson to bring Yiddishkeit to the community. Not my parents went, we went." That is the recipe for success for rearing children out of town. Just repeating the story brings tears to my neshama. So I thank my children because they, everyone can make choices. And all of my children, thank God, not only went along with us, but participated and just felt a part of everything that Esther and I were doing. And that was so important because otherwise we wouldn't be able to continue. So let me mention a halachic question. We studied this in the Talmud. The question is, let's say you don't have enough money. You don't have enough money for Kiddush, for wine, for Kiddush. And it's a choice. Either Chanukah lighting or Kiddush Friday night. What is the law? What is the law? And the Talmud says that at the expense of the Friday night Kiddush, you light the Chanukah candles because it's called Pirsume Nisa, publicizing the miracle. Publicizing the miracle. So on Chanukah, we light the candles to publicize the great miracle that occurred. So here's my question. Point of Jewish law. When you light the Chanukah candles, can you use a torch? First night, 1 torch. Second night, 2 torches. 8 torches. Are you allowed to use a torch, that has a giant flame? And the law is no. You can't use a torch. You can't use a Havdalah candle. You have to use 1 single wick. Why? I thought, Pirsume Nisa, publicize the miracle. Light, bring more light. The answer is no. That's not what Chanukah is. The essence of Chanukah is one small light, one small jar of oil. The few against the many, the weak against the mighty. One small light, one small jug of oil. That's the essence of Hanukkah. Can you imagine what came from one small flask of oil? How much light? Okay, if you think about it, the first Hanukkah was 2,186 years ago. Okay, think about all of the menorahs that were burning in Jerusalem and all over Israel 2,186 years ago. And then every single year, all the Jews who lit Hanukkah menorahs all over the world. Imagine the light, the blinding light, the power of that light, that radiance. Where did it come from? One small flask of oil. That's the essence of Hanukkah. And what does it teach us? It teaches us how important it is. Our small mitzvos, a smile, even a few minutes in fervent, sincere prayer, a few minutes of Torah study, small steps. That has been the guiding light for Esther and I in our own lives and in that which we share with our community, with our beloved Tucson. Small steps. That's Hanukkah. Hanukkah was the battle of the body against the soul. With the Hanukkah miracle, it was implanted within us the strength to overcome challenges in any period and at any time in our lives. There was a great Hasidic rabbi, Rabbi Yisrael Spira, known as the Blushever Rebbe. He lost his entire family in the Holocaust. He was an inmate in Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. And he managed to get a hold of some oil. And the word spread. The Rebbe is going to light Hanukkah candles. And 1,000 Jewish concentration camp inmates gather around the Rebbe. And he makes the bracha, he makes the blessings. And one Jew comes over to him and he says, I understand. If you're here tonight and you say the blessing, Lahadlik ner shel Chanukah, to light the light of Hanukkah. I understand. You're lighting the light of Hanukkah. The second blessing, She'asa Nisim, it's the blessing for miracles. Of course we want a miracle. Of course. But how dare you, Rebbe, say the third blessing? What's the third blessing on the first night? Thank you, God, for helping us reach this moment. Rabbi, how could you say that? Here in Bergen-Belsen? So the Rebbe says to him softly, you know what, I thought of your question. And look around. Look at 1,000 Jews that are ready to risk their lives to hear a Hanukkah blessing. That is Shehecheyanu. That is testimony to God. That is testimony to the Spirit within the Jew. And that is testimony to the Spirit within each and every one of us. The Torah says, in the book of Exodus, which we're going to be reading in a few weeks, quotes Moses, Aaron, Moses, Aaron, Aaron, Moses, Moses, Aaron. And the great commentary Rashi says, Wait, why with the order? Why sometimes does it say Moses and then Aaron, and then sometimes it says Aaron and then Moses? So the great commentary says, Rashi says, oh, because they're equal. Moses and Aaron are equal. Now, if you read the Bible, you see Moses and Aaron are not equal. Who's the one who went up on Mount Sinai? Read the book. Moses went up on Mount Sinai. Aaron didn't go up on Mount Sinai. Who's the one who spoke to God all the time? It was Moses, not Aaron. How could you say that they're equal? And the great sage Rabbi Moshe Feinstein explains, yes, Aaron was the greatest Aaron that he could be. Moses was the greatest Moses that he could be. And what a message, what a powerful message to each and every one of us. Because we all grow up. We all had different backgrounds and different Jewish education and different opportunities. But each of us has our own spirit within us. Each and every one of us possesses an neshama, a spirit, a powerful spirit. Each and every one of us possesses the legacy of Chanukah. Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, one of the greatest Torah writers of all time, he explains that Kabbalistically, an event that occurred, like Chanukah, like Pesach, even though the event happened already, each year when that season comes, there is a spiritual potential for growth within each and every Jew. For example, Pesach, we say the time of our freedom. There's a potential to feel and understand freedom. Sukkot is the time of happiness. It's a potential to experience an elevated sense of joy. Chanukah comes, especially tonight, the 8th day of Chanukah, with all that light. Chanukah comes. Yes, the Chanukah miracle happened nearly over 2,000 years ago. But the potential of growth, the potential to capture the light, that survives, and that is part and parcel of each and every one of us. The menorah represents the light of our neshama, the light of our soul, the light within each and every one of us. And each and every one of us has potential to grow and to keep growing. And that's why in this 40 years we call this the Torah Growth Together, because we have grown, you have grown, and may Hashem bless us all to keep growing together from strength to strength. Thank you, and we love you. And now, thank you. Okay, thank you. How about a little musical celebration, celebrating Chanukah and celebrating 40 years of growth together?